All right, friends. I see Miss Freeman, Miss Olin, Felix. Awesome. And I am going to go ahead and mute each classroom so that I can't hear you in my ears at the moment. So I can hear all of you. I'm not seeing, I see Miss Olin's video is off, and looks like there's Miss Selleck. All right. So I'm going to keep your microphones muted for right now, and if we have some time for questions at the end, then I will unmute microphones and see if there's a question in each classroom about what we're going to talk about this morning. So thank you for working through all the technical difficulties. Sorry it wasn't working earlier. So students, I know that you have been very excited about taking your computers home, and lots of you have been asking, when are we going to get to take our computers home? And we've been patiently waiting for that day, and we are ready to start that process. But one of the reasons that we've been waiting is that we really want you to understand that taking your device home, taking your computer home, is a huge responsibility. And as the leaders of our school, you're fifth grade, you're the oldest students, you are the people that we look up to in the school. We want you to be the model citizens of what it means to take a device home. So the teachers and I have been talking about what that looks like. What does a good digital citizen look like? What would we expect our fifth graders to be doing as they're taking their devices home? And so we have a sheet that you're going to have. You may have it in front of you now, or you may be getting it later. I'll show it to you on the screen in just a minute. And it's called the Fifth Grade Barrow Student Family Media Agreement. And so these are some things that we really want you and your family to look at together and to honor as you are taking devices home. Just like with other things at school, if you aren't able to honor the things on this contract or this agreement, then your device may not be going home with you. We really expect great responsibility from you. So I am going to share my screen with you so that you can see what I'm talking about instead of staring at me. Let's see if we can get this to work. All right, so you should see, hopefully, the media agreement. So we broke this up into really five different areas. 4 of those are specifically for you as the student, and then one of those areas is for you and your family. So let's take a look at what they mean. So there's things that you'll agree to. You'll be responsible. You'll stay safe. You'll think first, and you'll stay balanced. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. So for be responsible, this really is kind of how we expect you to take care of your device. You know, you don't have a bag for your device, so you're going to be carrying it in your backpack. So you need to know where it is at all times. You're not leaving it at ASP. You're not leaving it on the bus. You're not leaving it at a doctor's office if you're have an appointment after school. You're not leaving it in the car. You have it, you know where it is at all times, and you're keeping it in safe places so that it's not likely to be stolen by someone else or affected by the extreme temperatures that can happen in a car. So you should never leave a device in a hot or cold car. And one of the most important things is the last part of this one, and it is charging your computer. If you take your computer home, we expect you to charge it every single night. When you walk into school in the morning, you need to have a computer that's ready to go. These are brand new, so they're going to last you a good amount of time without a cord if you've charged them overnight. The next section is staying safe. So we expect you to stay safe when you're on your device. So you're not giving out any private information, and that can be your whole name, your date of birth, where you live, your phone number. You really want to make sure you're not giving out any information that could lead someone to where you are. Also know that your password is private. It is your password. It is really not something to share with anyone. We really know your password here at school because we're your teachers and we have access to your information. But when you share your password with someone, you're just inviting them to get onto your stuff, and they can delete your work, or they can go to things on your computer that you might not go to yourself, and then it looks like you're the one that did it. So make sure that you are not sharing your password. And if anything happens while you're online, you are sharing that information right away with an adult, someone that you trust. It could be a family member, but it also could be any of us here at school. Whether it's something that made you uncomfortable or sad or unsafe, we want you to talk to us about anything on your computer that you feel uncomfortable about. The next is that you'll think first. Remember, we talk about how we communicate with each other in person here at school, how we expect to be talked to and listened to. The same things apply when you're online. You would not say something in an email that you wouldn't say to someone's face. Remember that just because you typed it on a computer and sent it doesn't mean that it disappeared. It's there. We can look at it and see what you sent. So we want to make sure that we're being nice to one another online. We're not teasing or embarrassing or bullying anyone online. And knowing that the internet is a very public place. Anytime you use the internet, you're doing something that's very public, and work just doesn't disappear. People think tools like Snapchat and other things like that your work just disappears after a period of time. It really doesn't. It could have been saved and could be shared with anyone. And finally, one thing that I want you to think about is staying balanced, knowing that you shouldn't be on your computer all the time. I love the computer. I love my cell phone. I have my cell phone with me all the time. But you can't be on them all the time. You really need to think about spending time with your family, going outside and playing, having that book in your backpack that you're reading as much as you can. Balance. We want you to use your device, but don't use it all the time. And finally, what we want you to do with your family is to go over we want them to realize that the computer is a big part of your life, and they may not understand why, but we really want you to use it. It's not something that we want to say you can't ever use. We want you to be able to use the computer, and we want them to understand that it's a part of all of our lives, that technology is a big part of our world. We also want want them to know that they should talk to you about things that they're concerned about on the computer, and instead of just saying no to you, that you can't do something on the computer, to talk about why as a family and really have some conversations about why we say no to certain things on the computer or why we say yes to certain things on the computer. And finally, we want you to talk to your family about things that interest you, so that together you can figure out what are some of the things that you could do on the computer at home that would be really productive. So after you have kind of thought about this in your classroom, we're going to ask you to sign down here at the bottom that you agree to these things, and we want you to take this home and go over it with your family, and we want them to sign as well, that they understand that you're going to do all of these things, but we also expect at home that your family is going to do these things here at the bottom as well. And we really take this seriously, friends. We want you to enjoy your computers. We want you to have them, but know that it is not something that you have to have at home. We can prevent you from taking them home. It's not something we want to do, but we will if you're not being responsible with your devices. Okay, so I'm going to check in and see if any classrooms have a specific question for me, because we're kind of at the end of our time. I know you need to switch classes. So let me just check in with each teacher, and I guess we'll start with Ms. Selleck, because she's at the top of my list. So I'll unmute your microphone, Ms. Selleck, and do you have any questions in your classroom?
Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Okay. Jermaine has a question, Mr. Clemens.
Okay.
When game and it get overheated?
What's your
Sorry,
question? What if you're playing a game and it gets overheated?
Yeah. So that has happened to me. I'm going to mute your microphone here for a second. That has happened to me here in the library, actually. I have my computer sitting sometimes on top of my case, and sometimes the fan on the computer gets blocked, and so the computer gets really hot and it shuts itself off. So you have to make sure that wherever you're playing, you're using your computer or whatever game you're on, that the fan is actually able to access air on your computer. Most of the time the computer's going to take care of itself in situations like that. It's going to turn itself off, and then you'll just turn it back on. What we're talking about with extreme temperatures is leaving it in a car where it gets way above 100 degrees, and that's not safe for a computer. All right. So hopefully that helped. I'll talk to you some more later, Jermaine, if that didn't answer your question. All right. Let me check in with Miss Freeman's class and see if they have a question.
All right. We have 2 questions. Cadence?
What if you have to leave it in the car? Is there like a way you can like protect it from the cold?
Yeah. So this is a tricky question because I know there are times where you may need to leave your computer in the car. You may not want to carry it in with you to a store, or like I know we went to the place possible. So maybe maybe you could leave it in the trunk or put it under the seat of the car, but it's still going to be in that heat, and it really isn't good for the device. But you definitely want to keep it out of direct sunlight, and you want to make sure that you're leaving it out of sight so that someone's not tempted to steal it. But try your best not to leave it in the car. All right. So what was the other question?
That's all for us.
Okay. All right, and Miss Olin's class, did you have a question?
Any questions? Okay, Shania, you have a question?
Okay. Oh gosh.
Bo has a question. Speak loud.
Are we allowed to like take it on a trip? Vacation. Like
Sure. Yeah. So this is your device for the year. So it's just like if you checked out a computer or checked out a book from the library, and you went on a trip like for spring break. You're responsible for it when it leaves the school. So over Christmas break, or our winter break, over spring break, over Thanksgiving, we are not going to take up your devices and store them in the library. They're your responsibility over that time. So yeah, you can take it on a trip with you, but there's even more responsibility when you take it on a trip because you're traveling around to lots of different places, and you don't want to lose it. Because if you lose it, you know that you've lost that great computer for pretty much the year because we don't have any extra ones, and you'll have a netbook. So make sure that you're keeping up with where it is and think about, am I actually going to use this device on my trip, or am I really going to be spending more time with family? You kind of have to think about that balance piece that we talked about on the contract. All right, so friends, I know we're over the time that we said, so I'm going to pause here. But please know that this is an ongoing conversation. If you have things that you're wondering about with your computer, things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do, please talk to your teachers. Please talk to me. Please talk to Mr. Williams about that, because we want to support you. We want you to have these computers for the whole year and to be responsible with them. And more importantly, do amazing things with them, because these are very powerful tools that connects us with the whole world and allows us to create some amazing things. So I can't wait to see what you do this year in your classes and in the projects that we do together. and just follow along. Follow these rules that these agreements that we have. And this video is something you can watch back. I'll share the link with your teachers. If you want to share this with your family, they certainly can watch this as well. I'll see you soon.